Hello everyone. Today we are going to see why taxonomy or classification system is important in biodiversity. We generally call it as biosystematics. So now what is meant by biosystematics? Biosystematics, it is the study of biological diversity and its origin. Basically, biosystematic focuses on understanding evolutionary relationship among the organism. Okay, and how exactly we delineate the species? We actually delineate species, higher taxa or genes, and the evolution of the properties of taxa, including intrinsic traits, ecological interaction, and geographic conditions. It is an important part of systematics, which is helpful in development of different kinds of methods in various aspects like phylogenetic inferences and biological nomenclature or classification. Taxonomy is the science of naming. Delineating means naming the species, the naming, describing, and classifying organism, and it includes including all the animals, plants, or all the living organism, including even microorganism in the world. We generally exercise or understand morphological characteristic, then behavioral characteristic, then biochemical observations, and ultimately genetic observations. That means the sequences of DNA, what are the similarities in between genes or the DNA sequences. Taxonomy generally identify, describe, and arrange species into classifications, including those that are new to the science. And so they call it as novel species. Today, now, up till now, this researcher says that only 40%, even less than 40% of biodiversity we have been discovered in on the earth. So if we consider the 100% of animals and plant species or all the living creatures which is present, only up to 40% plants and animals we have discovered. And if we talk about the microorganism, then we can say that only 1% microorganism we know today, because there are so many uncultured organisms are there which are not comes into the culturable mode, or there are no any definite nutritional media is available in the laboratory. So that's why we cannot able to understand their morphology or their existence. In the past 250 years of research, taxonomists have named around 1.78 million species of animal, plants, and microorganisms. Yet the total number of species is unknown and probably between 5 to 30 million. What is the need of taxonomy? It provides the actual picture, real picture of organic diversity on Earth. It provides information for reconstruction of phylogeny of life. It reveals evolutionary information like what was the ancient creatures, what is its significance, what different proteins, fats, what different kinds of genetic information or genes generally expresses during the course of evolutions and how they changed throughout the time. It also provides the data for other fields in biology like biogeography or the territory or the area like oceanic area or water lands or wet sites like wetlands are there, even dry areas are there like desert zones. So over there different types of species they grow and they nurture over there. So this is the diagram. We can see that how exactly we classify the animal. First of all, what it is, whether it is a true animal, then we call it as eukaryotes. Then what is the kingdom? So there are around 4 to 5 kingdoms are there: the animalia, plant, protist, likewise. And then we step down with the different orders. Like then first of all the phylum with a specific characteristic. There are two phyla majorly: chordates and non-chordates, and within the non-chordates there are again various classes are there. Then within the phyla, we generally consider the class with the again specific characteristic about their digestion, the food behavior, and their habitat. Then within the same habitat and food behavior, we classify that organism with a different order, like what kind of food habitat is there, whether it is the herbivorous, whether it is the carnivorous, whatever it is. So there are different types of characteristic, and based on that we classify within the order. Even though structural anomalies or structural properties are also different within the order, so we classify organisms based on structure also. Then family, genus, and ultimately the species. So we name the species with respect to the genus. So why we need taxonomy? Taxonomy aims to classify living creature. There are millions of organisms on earth of different physical, physiological and regional differences. So it helps to classify these millions of organisms scientifically into some categories like family, genus and species, like I just explained. It helps to ascertain the number of living species on the earth. Like it helps to understand their number, their community and everything on the earth. We have discovered till now some thousands of plants and animal species and are recorded as per the taxonomy. It also helps to get in an idea of what type of characters are present, like what different plants are there, whether they are insectivorous, carnivorous, or whether they are making their own food with the help of photosynthesis. Different types of plants are there which bears the like leguminous family. The characteristic we can ascertain are they have a nitrogen synthesizing battery on the root level. So likewise, based on the properties of plants, whether they are true pteridophytes or angiosperms, bryophytes, okay, there are different types of plants are there. And within the animal, again, non-chordates, chordates, just I explained. So there are different types of animals comes under non-chordates, which don't have a proper symmetrical body shape, so we consider them under the non-chordates with the true notochord, or they are not having a notochord. Then how they take their food, how they metabolize it. So based on these, we have classified them under the non-chordate section. And within the chordate section, a true notochord is there. So different mammals, reptiles, different frog specimen, or these comes under the vertebrate class. Fourth one, need that gives an idea about levels of physical development, and based on these levels of physical development we can understand the anatomy and physiology of the body or the whole organism. Physically, how exactly organism develops and how we can relate them throughout the evolutionary course of time, and that helps us, these studies, these all the outputs, we it helps us in our medical sciences. It helps us to develop new types of drugs within the market. It helps us to save biodiversity also. Biodiversity also. So I hope so, when you hear the word bacteria, you get an idea of single celled organism, and fungi as a multi-celled organism. Yet both are microbes. Actually, fungi are not microbes now. It is changed into some other, uh, completely other area like plantae, animalia, microorganisms, or eukaryota, prokaryotes, and fungi. So likewise. So physically and evolutionary wise, fungi are advanced than bacteria. It gives an idea of local fauna also. While understanding the local biodiversity, the species they are surviving in the area, whether they are threatened, whether they are least concerned, whether they are endangered. Okay, so based on that, we generally classify these organisms based on the numbers which is available, their reproductive procedure, their community, habitats, everything. Not all the plants and animal species are found in all the regions of Earth. Some of them are endemic, like take example kangaroo. It is an endemic, specifically endemic to the Australia. Even though if you talk in terms of Azadirachtus indica, it is the plant which is raised and completely endemic to Indian region or subcontinent of India. Then there are different organisms which is specifically endemic to Sahyadri Ghats, Western Ghats, Eastern Ghat, Himalayan region, Shivalik platform. So these, to save these species, because somehow these species they are involved in the food chain of our system, and somehow they are connected to us also. So hence taxonomy helps to identify and ascertain the types of plants and animals that can be found in particular region. It helps us or the researchers to go to the place of existence of these species to collect them in case they need to experiment on them or to preserve that specimen or to understand their habitat. Now, what is meant by classification? Arrangement of organisms into orderly group based on their similarities. So, taxonomists are the scientists or the researchers that identify and name these organisms. What are the benefits? The benefits, basically, we can delineate that species uniformly. We can uniformly name the organism and delineate into classification system, so that any other researcher or future generation, if they come and understand the species, they will able to locate that species and their with their characteristic and all the information regarding that. It prevents misnomers such as like starfish and jellyfish, whether they are really fish or we are just calling them as a fish. There is one example, like we can call it as a seahorse. Now we have named it as a horse because it looks like a horse, but it is not a horse. It belongs to non-chordate section of animal. Uniformity in language, because the previously when the classification has been started from Linnaeus, Carl Linnaeus and then others researchers, they started to name these organisms within the Latin language. And so today also we followed the same thing because it it will tells us that the uniformity in the language. So if we name that organism with the local language, definitely there will be the confusion, and that makes ambiguity in the organism. Like there are same species occurring on different sides of world, and the named with a different common name or local name, so the researchers might get confusion to understand that organism. So why we do not pronounce the species with the common name? Because it misleads. Like take example, just I said the organism, like are the seahorse are really horses? No, they just looks like the horse. The mouth region is looks like horse. That's why we are calling it as the seahorse. But it definitely it is not belongs to that group. Common names can be mislead. Like take example, the jellyfish, are they are actually a jelly? Like just we can see the picture, the jelly is on the bread, so are they producing any certain kinds of jelly which we generally use to eat in our food, or it is as a food additive? But no, the jellyfish, they actually like opaque in a structure, they looks like a jelly, and so we are called them or we pronounce them as a jellyfish. There are ample amounts of different organisms that mimics our routine like things that we generally use in our day-to-day life, like in food or the animals that looks like that, so we name them as a common name. Then region to region the species is sometimes different, but the name is same. Like take example robin, the two three types of different types of robins are there which occurs in different areas, geographical areas of the world. Like in United States there is a robin which looks like this bird, which is having a complete abdominal section, the ventral section is brown in color. Okay, but they pronounce them as a robin, and here in England the other robin which is completely different. If you see these two species, they are different but the name is the same, robin. But if you see genetical and their all morphological characteristic, they are completely different two species. Then why to pronounce them as a robin only? So now this is the question. So that's why we generally reject these common name pronunciation system. So binomial nomenclature is the method that we use to uniquely name every different organism on earth. Okay, and all the organisms have a scientific name that includes two Latin words. The one is genus and the other one is species name. The two words are made from the name of genus, like I just said. The second word is known as a specific epithet. What does that mean? Like take example, some suppose scientific names of all organisms are made from the name of their genus and the specific epithet or the characteristic. The scientific name given to human including the genus is Homo and the species epithet is sapiens. The overall name is Homo sapiens. The scientific name are also written in either italics, or if it is not written in italics then it should be underlined, because genus and species name is always underlined if they are not in italics mode. Now, what is binomial format? When writing, the genus should be a capitalized word, the first word should be capitalized, and the species word should be in the lowercase. Or if they are not in italics, there should be underlined entirely, so that the reader can understand this is the species name. And we type the same, expect use italics. If we use italics, then don't underline them. It will the researchers can or the reader can understand it is the species name. Like take example, Bos taurus is the scientific name of bull species. The and if it is not in italics, it is underlined. If it is italic, then it is not underlined. So it has all started through the Carlos Linnaeus. He was a great researcher. He developed classification system based on the physical features of plants. But then ultimately he tried to classify animals as well, whatever animals he saw during that time. Many rules still used today, like binomial nomenclature is one of the rules that he actually gave us. The first word is genus and the second word is species. There are three types of classification, three domains are there, like archaea, eukaryota, and eubacteria. So archaeal species, these species they are not true bacteria. So like we can say that they are prokaryotes, and some of the prokaryotes are archaeal bacteria. They actually metabolize their or they do metabolism through their different types of metabolic system, like they do take methane, they do take sulfur or such kinds of chemicals that are available under the ground or under the soil. These bacteria, they are not able to get oxygen, ample amount of oxygen, so they are completely anaerobic organism. They are available or they present in volcanic eruption, the benthic zone of oceans or the benthic zone of any lake. Okay, so these are the archaea. And only about, I just told you that only 1%, near about even 0.1% is reported. So remaining are completely unknown, and based on at least genetic classification or 16s rRNA DNA examination, we can understand their diversity. Till date we know so many different organisms, be yet we have not cultured them in the laboratory. The other one is eubacteria, that comes up the total true bacteria. And the third one is the uh, what do we call, the eukaryota. Based on the level of classification, other level, okay, the eukaryota we have developed, or the we have developed all the living things in 5 different kingdoms, that is kingdom Monera, Protista, Plantae, Animalia and Funga. So these 5 kingdoms are present currently. We have already understood these 5 kingdoms in our 11 12 standard or even our school studies. So no need to explain in detail particularly. So hence we have classified all the organisms, living creatures within these 5 kingdoms, and ultimately we go up to the species level. Final 7 level classification is the first is the largest and seventh is the smallest classification system. So first of all, we start with the kingdom, phyla, class, order. Even under these under this class, there is a subclass is there. After that, the order, suborder, family, genus, species. So likewise, this 7 level classification system we generally apply. I hope so. you understand the classification system and why it is very important in understandings of biodiversity. I hope so you understood this thing, why taxonomy is important in the understanding the biodiversity.